Welcome to Rise to Lead, the podcast where heart-driven leaders come together to inspire and innovate. They will share actionable tips and insights that help you lead your team more successfully, advance your career or business as a leader, achieve greater impact, and experience deeper fulfillment. I'm your host, Regina Huber, guiding you through deep conversations about leadership that's rooted in service, freedom, and the desire to leave a positive mark on the world. Welcome to the Rise to Lead podcast. I'm excited to introduce a fellow podcast host and conscious leader, Elona Lopari. Elona, welcome.
Regina, thanks so much for having me. It's a blessing to be here with you having this conversation, and I really hope that the audience will walk away with some new dots that are going to get connected for them today.
I am totally sure they will. Knowing you a little bit and reading your website and also having a conversation with you for your podcast in the past. So let me quickly introduce you to our listeners. Elona is the founder and CEO of the Life School. She's a speaker, keynote speaker, and also a sought-after panelist. She's a best-selling author to numerous books, an award winner, a show and speaking events organizer to an audience of over 30,000 plus purpose-driven service-based entrepreneurs and corporations. She has supported 100 plus companies double and triple their impact and revenue through fractional and business management operations and HR services. She's a prior Fortune 500 C-suite executive, also featured in Disrupt, New York Weekly, Business Insider, CEO Weekly, The Business News, and Famous Times. Elona, again, welcome. That all sounds amazing. And I know you have a lot of accolades and you work preferably with purpose-driven clients, and you help them be more successful. I also loved our conversation we had for your podcast, so I'm so glad that I can welcome you today to Rise to Lead, and I can't wait to hear from you what you will share with us, which will be tremendously valuable for our audience, I'm sure. So tell us first what inspired you to support specifically your audience and your clients in the way you do, and why you love to work with service-based companies.
Yeah, I love the theme of the podcast as well, Rise to Lead, right? Because I really believe that leadership starts from within and then trickles down to everything else that we do. It's really defying, or I guess challenging, a lot of traditional leadership models and the way that maybe traditional business has been growing, or leadership has been growing through and evolving through, I guess, what I've seen in my personal and professional journey. So I'll start with that. I'm originally from Albania, moved to New York when I was 15. And very early on, I was kind of programmed with the American dream from my father, especially praised for all my achievements. So I went to kind of do that, follow that path. I got my bachelor's for business management and finance degree, and then I climbed the corporate ladder. I worked for a Fortune 500 company, moved all the way to the C-suite because I was supposed to be achieving, and I was supposed to be, follow the American dream. And besides that, I also felt very good with the company because they were in growth mode. So I'm very blessed to have had that experience. I did marketing, sales, HR, executive leadership. So all of that variety of experience definitely built me up as a person, but also professionally. So I realized that my love for leadership was there. And one of the gifts that I had, or the things that I was able to provide for the company, or the value I could add, is always connecting the right people together, building top talent. Because I really believe that at the end of the day, everything is about humans and people and relationships. However, I did see a big gap in the company with kind of putting a lot of some of the personal development stuff side. So I was actually a major initiator for a lot of diversity and inclusion initiatives, a lot of personal development initiatives, a lot of health and wellness initiatives, because I really believe even then I knew that one of the things that I seen with performance was always like, okay, great, like we want employees to be high performers. However, there's like a lot of personal dots that we're not connecting with kind of what's getting in the way of adding value and with their performance. So I just, these problems, I've seen them over and over in my experience. And finally, I kind of heard a little voice that when I reached the level at the top, I was like, wow, is this what it really is? Because it's like disappointed. I'm like, I'm so unhappy still. I felt like a lot of inner conflict, and I didn't know how to deal with that then, because I thought that obviously I did well. I thought that that's kind of what I needed to do, and I just felt jinxed and kind of disappointed with kind of where I was. So that's kind of where my journey turned on the other end, where I started looking for other things. It happened to be the timing, timing of the universe always works in divine perfect timing, right? So the company was bought by another company, the culture turned very profit driven. So now I could see the difference, because for many years it was very purpose driven. I learned, I grew, I believed in the mission of the company, in the way that in help people has served others. The team was very collaborative. Everybody was growing, contributing beyond themselves. So those were the patterns that I saw. And I could see how when this turned into the other end, very profit driven, the culture shattered. It was so toxic. Everybody started to find places to go. Everybody was like looking at the silver lining. It's almost like the kind of just whatever was built was coming down, so that, the company is still obviously going on today, but with new level of leadership and with challenges, because I could foresee that in the future at that time. And that's kind of seemed my passion for kind of pairing pretty much what I always knew to do well, and also to kind of that lit me up. I always followed that, because every time I didn't, I felt unfulfilled and unhappy. And sometimes I would get pain on the other side, maybe just, stuff that would happen that would kind of keep me in the path. So through my work, I kind of over-evolved as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur now for 5 years. And I saw this now as a new channel and a new paradigm. That's why I wasn't no longer attracted to doing another 9 to 5 somewhere. Been there, done that. That felt boring, redundant, been there. I'm done. So now I wanted to look at something else. So that's how entrepreneurship showed up for me. I never thought I'd be one. I never thought I was good at it. And I realized that I'm a born entrepreneur, and that's why I was able to add value to the company I was in for, so many years and all of that, because the innovation, the creativity and all of that, to me, it's something I grow, but it also comes naturally, because I'm like naturally the person who sees sort of like connecting the dots in the future and then working backwards to kind of implement those, so that we move towards that vision mission. So that's what I do today. The kind of pretty much I followed, my purpose, and now I want to flip the script for everybody. I'm like, let's lead with purpose and then align the profits. I teach all the systems and processes to grow in a company at whatever level, phase, and stage they're in, from startup all the way to exiting the owner from the company. So the company can exit, or it can be, left as a legacy, or it can be utilized as a philanthropy channel. Usually those are the three things I've seen motivate and inspire purpose-driven people that lead with heart. So that's kind of now my passion, helping companies and entrepreneurs discover their purpose, and then bring it out to the world and do more good within the world with that. That's kind of in a nutshell my mission that I feel compelled to go after right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, and of course you took everything you had learned in your job, climbing that ladder and being in those leadership roles, and you took that to create this very precious project that now helps a lot of your clients and even also the audience you have built through your podcast, that you are inspiring in that way, right? So now I'm curious, you said, yes, lead from the heart. And of course, this podcast is also about heart-centered leadership. It's written in the description of it. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. What does it mean in your world to lead from the heart?
For leaders to always work on raising their consciousness and to wake up. That's kind of what it means to me. And it's very relevant to me right now because I just recently went through my own spiritual awakening experience. It was years in the building, but I always knew because growth was so important to me. And I always found that no matter what I did in life, I was always going to figure out a way to grow. Because if I wasn't going to grow, then I was going to die. So I'm like, I don't want to die. So I'm going to live my life anyway. So I would love to realize my potential. Well, not all. I mean, I don't think we ever will ever realize it all, but at least improve myself daily. That's kind of like baby steps, kind of the way that I looked at things. So that's kind of where I think the new paradigm of leadership is now. The more people are awake, the more you work on your consciousness, on your blocks, and the things that get in your way, utilize your intuition, tap into gifts and things that we already have built in on the inside, align that obviously also in the physical world because we still live in a physical world. So we do need to, kind of implement things practically. I'm also a pragmatist. So I love that I have combined all of these because in my prior life, I guess, through my corporate experience, I was doing a lot of masculine energy stuff. So that helped me tap into structure systems, marketing, sales, like all those things that we kind of are so familiar to know about business growth, aligning that with more on this other side of, purpose and, clarity and contribution towards others and service and kind of what am I here to do and how do I now build something that aligns with that and is so authentic to me and all of that. So that's kind of, how I would define the new world that we're heading into and kind of what are the new leaders that are really needed and who are the people that are going to light other people up and really make a change and transition everybody through to the next dimension as we're all going into it anyway, some voluntarily, some involuntarily, but it's happening. Nobody, I think we're all feeling the shift. Some people might not have the awareness to know what's happening. But I think we're moving into new paradigms, and I've always been that person that always saw in the future. So yeah, that's kind of what I would define would be the new level of paradigm and leadership that is needed at this time, which is conscious leadership, waking up ourselves, and every day discovering new gifts and use our intuition to connect our own dots.
Right. I could not agree more. You definitely are speaking my language when you say new paradigms, because one of my frameworks is called New Paradigm Leadership, by the way. So absolutely, yes, I agree with you. We need new paradigms. We need a new consciousness as well. I also wrote an article about new business consciousness. When was that now? In 2020, I think, when when it was a very significant year for a lot of change for a lot of people. So yes, and of course, you and I are people who have been thinking about this for a longer time than just 4 years. But I think it's also just becoming more acute in a way, to call it something. And we might need to go through a little bit of pain before we come out on the other side. But that's part of the process. Disruption is part of change. Right. Now, you also touched on, of course, yes, the physical world. We do live in a physical world as well. And so we have to also take care of our physical needs and things like profits. So what can we do then to achieve this balance of purpose and profit?
Yeah, I think I've always been a big proponent to education. I feel like that's the one thing with technology. It's why I was able to get here, let's say, right? I mean, looking at the past versions of where I was, in a lot of pain, as you mentioned, a lot of like hustling, a lot of like butting my heads against the door and burnout and all those things that I think people feel, stress, fear, so much anxiety around like things I was doing, making the wrong decisions all over the place because of the lack and the fact that I didn't feel good enough and all of that. So I think it starts there, the inner work piece. When you have some clarity around that and you have some really good habits in your life to take care of yourself, as you mentioned, physically, spiritually, mentally, Those are obviously the three main channels. I believe that you'll start to see the actions, you'll start to see the doing, which it's almost like, going against the grain now, because we're just programmed like to do all day, and do all the things and compare ourselves to everybody else. And, oh, well, Regina's doing this in her business, so let me just also do the same. Even though obviously your journey is different, your background's different, your experience is different, your gaps are different, your education different, your gifts are different, all of these. So I think it's important to align yourself with the right community, pay attention to the things that are attractive towards you, because those could be your brand, and they should be your brand, I should say, because otherwise, why you were, then you'll be unauthentic. Business to me is like a game, right? I mean, it's a matter of just structuring out the thing that we want to do in the way we serve others into a offer. That's what it's called in the business world. Because one of my missions is to humanize business also. So let's call this, what it is. And for me, the mission is always innovation. To me, it's always marrying the old with the new. And we have to be smart about doing both, because then we can speak to the people that are wherever they are in the journey, so that we can, get them on the other end, right? And the way to do that is not to be like, well, you got to do this or that. It's to create, to inspire action, to share from the heart, right? Share our experiences. This is why the life school came about to me in one of my insightful sessions of, okay, life is like a school, especially entrepreneurship, beyond traditional schools, right? Every day we're learning and growing. We're students. We're curious. Let's tap into our childhood, child curiosity. Let's explore. Let's play. Like, our life is like a playground. Let's like be playful. Let's follow our joy, right? Follow the things that light us up. So all of that just connected for me. And for me, that would be the practical advice nowadays that I give people, or even all my clients, right? Let's do soul work. Let's do inspired work. Let's get all the clarity we need from that piece. And then let's implement it in the physical world, where if the next inspired action is to create content, we create content, because we now understand that that channel connects to the bigger purpose and the reason why we do what we do. Because I've always found a big gap to get people to be accountable in the old ways of working or living. I never really cared about that. To me, if somebody is pulled and connected, there's no such thing as we just not going to overcome the next challenge, because that thing to me is so inspiring and attracting that I can't stop thinking about it. It's beyond me because it's inside of me. So there's no need for motivation, external motivation. There's no need for accountability. I've seen all of those fall in my experience. There is no need for kind of structured, robotic, ways of doing things. I think people just need a map, a big map, especially in business. If you have experience, I've seen things, obviously, and I can predict it fast because that's all I do. I've been doing it for 20 years. Let's find the professionals in the fields, connect with them spiritually, or soul clients, whatever. If you're not at that level, you're not going to get what I'm saying, but just follow the intuition. If someone attracts you, that means there's something that they can offer you, which is complementary, and just do that, more of that process, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a coach, whether it's I don't care what the label is. Labels are all society, status stuff, because we need some names, I mean, I don't know who I am, right? So that's why I always hated attaching myself to even calling myself a coach or that. I always love attaching myself to the mission, right? I'm here to serve people through that. And I do it through the channel of my company, which is my school, the life school. So to me, it's always been that bigger thing. But I think once you connect with those bigger dots, the small details, you'll see, you're like, this is not important right now. This is very important right now. It will almost feel like you already know how to do this, to time keep and track and build backwards towards that purpose, and just know what is the right important next step right now. You'll just make better decisions, and you're not going to get burned out, because those decisions you're making are very intentional at a very high level. You're not wasting your time doing all the hustling and the over here and the low level stuff, doing all the marketing, being all over the place without a clear intention and all of that. I've boiled it down, Regina. It's all about purpose. If you are clear about the purpose behind what you're doing, you know what events to go to, you know how to market, you know how to find the people you want, you know all the stuff. So lean into purpose, get that clarity, and keep redoing the same exercise. Inner work all the way, whether you like meditation, whether you like sitting by a tree, whether you're like, barefoot somewhere, whether you like yoga, it doesn't matter. Find your channel. And as you evolve, you'll find new channels. You'll feel called to new things. But just do things that bring you joy, and you'll be amazed at how freaking powerful that will be for your business success. Because I used to be like, when somebody told me these, I'm like, well, I can't achieve it. I can't do. I still got to pay my bills. I still got to, I got like stuff. My kids need this and that. I was just so much into that because those are all limitations. Now I know, but I didn't know, right? I thought that was reality. I thought that that's what I was supposed to do. So I was making a lot of the wrong decisions, killing myself through the process. And of course, I suffered the consequences, but that woke me up. So they were there for that purpose. And at that time, I needed to go through it. And as I went through it, I come out on the other side with more clarity. And we all have that as humans. We're all in our own unique journeys.
Right.
So I think that would be the new practical approach.
Yeah, plus if you have lived through it, then you know what it's like. If you had never lived through it, how would you be able to support people who are going through this now, right? It's just much easier. And what we're talking about right now, what you call also in your work, I've seen that on your website, the purpose-driven strategies. So I think that's what it is, right? The purpose-driven strategies are the result of what you just explained to us. So I love that. Yes. And this has been very, very complete. So thank you for providing such a complete picture of what your understanding of purpose-driven work is, and heart-driven leadership as well, and especially also in within the context of leadership. So thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. Now, Elona, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you?
Thank you, Regina. And I also want to commend you for the amazing work. I think our missions unite, but also our missions separate, right? And complement each other. And that's the beautiful part about just finding people like this and spaces to be able to do this, which is why I love podcasting myself. I think we initially connected there and I said, we got to nurture and continue these conversations because there's so much more we can do to collaborate and even support, right? So come together and then separately support people in our own modalities and the ways that we're going through our own journey. So I think maybe the podcast would be a good next step for the audience. I bring in, tons of amazing people like yourself. To me, life experience is all the most important thing. That's my school of life. That's the school of life, right? Everybody's got experience, person, professional. We learn from one another. Every conversation is like its own masterclass. That's why I came up with that name. And I'm a student there. I get inspired every day. I'm learning. I flip between teacher, student. I share what I think I know as a teacher, even though I never really resonated with that because it's just too much of maybe I need to work on embracing it, but I love to share. So to me, it's sharing. So I flip back and forth, and it's like each show is its own masterclass. And then if they like to check out some of my work, my books, I'm very active. And to me, it's no more ego-driven. It started as ego-driven status. Like I got to build my brand and I got to do all this stuff. And it turned into a body of work. Like I just want to leave dots behind of the sharing and the knowledge that I've gained. So I just do it in different channels that speak to me, whether it's podcasting, writing a book, doing my events, things like that, because those will speak to me. So maybe the website will be the next hub, which would be at elonaloparicoaching.com, and they'll find free resources there as well that will support them.
Yes, I saw that too. I love the free resource that you have on there. So definitely people take advantage of this. Scroll around on the website and get your free gift. And yes, and check out Elona's books. Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Elona, for being with us today, sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge nuggets, and as much as has been possible within this short period of time. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Rise to Lead. Keep shining your light, standing up for what's right, and inspiring others to step into their brilliance. If you like this episode, please give it a 5-star rating and subscribe to the Rise to Lead podcast on your preferred podcast app. Until next time, it's Regina Huber, and in the meantime, remember to rise to lead.